More than 700 people have been arrested, charged in connection with the Capitol riots. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland vowing now not to rest until justice prevails.
The Justice Department remains committed to holding all January 6 perpetrators at any level accountable under law, whether they were present that day or were otherwise criminally responsible for the assault on our democracy. We will follow the facts wherever they lead.
And there will be several tributes and prayer vigils held at the Capitol throughout the day today. Congressman Ritchie Torres from the Bronx will be in attendance. He joins us this morning to discuss the insurrection and how it changed our democracy. Good morning, Congressman. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Well, security has been ramped up on Capitol Hill today. So what kind of emotions does that bring up for you?
Well, January 6th was a traumatic event. We never thought in our wildest dreams that we would live through an insurrection, that a violent mob would so easily invade the U.S. Capitol and terrorize members of Congress and their staff and break into the Senate chamber and into the Speaker's office, all in a violent attempt to overturn the results of an election. I have colleagues who continue to struggle with post-traumatic stress from the experience of January 6th 1 year later.
Congressman, we've spoken a lot since that day, right? You told us what was going on through your head that day when you said you were actually fearful at the very time. But since then, the Department of Justice has made hundreds of arrests. Attorney General Merrick Garland warned that the investigation now is far from over. So what's the general sentiment on Capitol Hill about the pace of the investigation and how it's all playing out a year later?
Look, investigations take time to unfold, so there is patience when it comes to the investigation. But what I fear most is amnesia. I fear that there are many who want us to forget January 6th, who want us to move on as if nothing happened. And my view is that the best way to move past January 6th is not amnesia, it's accountability.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to ensure there's an investigation that reveals who had a role in not only in inciting but planning the insurrection. And if there's evidence of a crime, there should be criminal accountability. We have to send a message that no one is above the law, not even the former president of the United States.
Yeah, transparency is critical. And the House committee investigating the insurrection, considering public hearings that could air in prime time. Do you agree with that?
I would leave it to the committee to decide how to conduct its investigation. It's privy to more information than I am, so I'm not in a position to prejudge. I just hope that we get to the truth and that we do not allow ourselves to be numb to political violence as a normal. We cannot have any tolerance for political extremism.
Yeah. Is there an end result here? Is there a final punishment or conviction for somebody that you would like to see?
Look, I'm not going to advocate for a particular outcome. I just want to see justice.
Okay.
If laws were broken and if crimes were committed, then there should be accountability because no one is above the law.
Right. Yeah. Well, shifting now from the Capitol riots, it was announced nearly $1 billion in coronavirus emergency relief funds will be sent to New York City's public hospital system. So what does that mean for the city in its continued fight against COVID?
Look, as you know, New York City was the epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak. Health and hospitals, which is the public health system, was the hardest hit, and it will ensure the $1 billion in new funding that Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and I secured will ensure that our safety net hospital can continue to be on the front lines serving those affected by COVID-19.
Do you know a timeline, right? The mayor came out yesterday, said there was going to be some money that was going to be sent to health and hospitals. Now we're talking about this. Is there a timeline for when those funds could be delivered?
I suspect it's dispersed over time, but health and hospitals feels that the infusion of $1 billion is going to be stabilizing for the whole system. Health and hospitals was drained. I think it lost $2 billion worth of funds as a result of the response to COVID-19.
Yeah. Well, Attorney General Merrick Garland also talked about protecting voting rights during his press conference yesterday. It's also a high priority for Democrats. Can you explain what exactly is at stake then in the midterm elections this year?
Look, there are concerted efforts by state legislators to pass laws that restrict who can vote, who can count votes, playing into the false narrative of election fraud from Donald Trump, the big lie. And so we have to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, which would establish a standard known as pre-clearance. So from 1965 to 2005, this process known as pre-clearance, where the Justice Department has to review voting laws that are passed at the state level, that process prevented 1,200 voting restrictions from taking effect. And ever since the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, we've seen a wave of voting restrictions across the country, and we have to reverse that wave.
Yeah, absolutely. There's certainly a lot we could talk to you about, but we're simply out of time. But thanks for being here on your first appearance in the new year. Happy New Year to you, and we'll see you soon, okay?
New Year.
Congressman Ritchie Torres, thank you for being here.